Hello, I'm Ronnie Eldridge. Welcome to Eldridge and Company. We know, or we should know, that our country is at its best when people care about each other, about their communities, and contribute to what I like to call the public good. New York Cares was started in 1987 to help New Yorkers do just that. As its executive director, Gary Bagley has many thoughts about civic engagement and service, and I'm pleased that he's my guest today so we can talk about this.
Welcome.
Thank you.
It's good to be here.
Tell me what New York Cares, just generally.
Well, New York Cares is the city's largest network of volunteers. Last year, we actively put 65,000 volunteers into the community, just the 5 boroughs of New York City. We work in education. That's almost half of our work.
That's a school
programs. Yeah, we do everything from tutoring programs with elementary schools. We have parent engagement programs, workforce development. We're a provider of citizenship preparation services, supporting our nonprofit partners.
You mentor kids and tutor?
We do tutoring, actually. We're the city's largest tuition-free SAT prep program. Right now, we have 400 volunteers who've been trained to prepare students for the SAT. They're helping about 1,100 students this year prepare. In past years, we've had score increases on average as high as 200 for our kids.
How well do the children do?
They're great. And you know, one of the things that's so interesting is we really have, over the last years, and we're going to continue to do this more and more intentionally every year, is really focus on those students who are in most need of services, right? Where the gap between, you know, especially in college, let's say, the kind of college they might go to or whether they might go to college, often is that test. And it, you know, for some, not everyone believes in testing, but it is still the rite of passage.
In a kid's life.
Yeah, and so one of the things that we find, and this happens throughout the educational process, is, you know, we're starting now in most of our schools with a program we call sophomore skills, and that's basic tutoring to make sure that by junior year the students are ready to prepare for the SAT, right? Because if we start in October and now the test is in March and the student is coming in behind a bit where they should be in the 11th grade, the hope of getting to, you know, to really good performance is very difficult. So we find almost every year that we want to start a little earlier. And it is, you know, it becomes a question of equity, right? Because I think we all know parents here in the city who, you know, it's 7th grade and they're already talking about the SAT and they're talking about college and they're talking about tests for specialized high schools. And then there's a whole other group of students who may not be preparing but could be capable of either going to a specialized high school, going to any of a number of colleges, but that added support, either, you know, schools are, you know, we're too cash strapped to provide it. Parents may not have even known to start, you know.
So does that mean you also do junior high school students?
We are starting to work with junior high school students.
That's really important, isn't it?
It's really important, and I will say one program we don't have yet, and it's one we're getting the most requests for, is preparing for the specialized high school tests. There's a huge imbalance there, and of course the specialized high schools want to be serving the city, you know, and really reflect the population of the city. They're aware that they do not. And again, there's a fair amount of this that is the ability to prepare for tests. I think we've been especially aware over the last couple years that as diverse a city as New York City is, our public schools are neighborhood-based, and so they are not as diverse within the schools.
Right. Well, yeah.
Last week we had our big day of service for the schools. It's called New York Cares Day.
And that's a big includes
day.
Everybody.
Yep, we had 3,000 volunteers out. They were in about 35 public schools. And that's a day we focus on launching a year of education programs. We do that primarily with what I call facilities and beautification, right? We were gardening, painting murals. It gets volunteers into the public schools, and then we're hoping to hook them so that they understand what the environments are like and how they can contribute.
If I heard that you were going to paint some classrooms in a school at my corner Could I just join in the effort that day?
Not that day. We do ask you to sign up early. There is a bit of a process. We were founded to make it as easy as possible. And there is a moment where most volunteer experiences that disappoint us, it's either there are too many people, too few people, the supplies weren't there. They're just a lot of logistical concerns. So, you know, as we try to explain to folks, if we're planning an event for 50 people, it needs 50 people. And that's part of what we're trying to do also for our partners, right? We're trying to meet their needs, meet them effectively. But when we do get drop-bys, don't worry, we signed them up for next weekend. and starting with New York Cares, I should say, for anybody who doesn't know us, is easy. A volunteer goes to one-hour orientation. Right now, about a third of our orientations are offered through digital means. So, you know, whether you can come to our offices, whether you can sit in on a webinar. After that, you now have access to what is almost 1,700 projects that are happening across the 5 boroughs every month. Every month, as I say, about 11,000 people get off their couch or up from behind their desk. They show up somewhere in the 5 boroughs to help. And whether you need, you know, curriculum for your citizenship program, you know, glitter for the arts activity, food for your snacktivities program, our job is to make sure it's there and waiting. We supply all of that. And that is one of the reasons, you know, as a volunteer organization, somebody often will say to me, why does this cost anything, right? Yeah. And the moment the volunteer gives back is, of course, done free. The preparation of making sure the nonprofit or the public school is ready, that we've diagnosed their needs, we order supplies, create curriculum, and then it's a lot.
It's a 21st century operation. It's not like we used to go in and, you know, right, okay.
Yeah.
What other major areas do you?
The other major areas are what we call immediate needs. That's hunger programming, working in food pantries and soup kitchens, also visiting seniors, which is one of the biggest growing programs that we have. Poverty amongst senior citizens is growing. And on top of it, there's a lot of language issues for access to benefits. So this year, we're actually excited. We're going to be piloting a program. Just got a grant that we're thrilled to pilot, where we'll be working to bring bilingual volunteers into senior centers, hoping to bring more seniors into the center who might have felt like a lack of language, you know, the ability to speak the language, my barrier. And we have thousands of volunteers who are bilingual and eager to put that skill to use, right? We all want to be useful. Yeah. Interestingly, the last bit of our work, which is probably what people would think of us for first, is what we call public spaces. That's the painting, the gardening. And I think when people think of volunteers, they think of paint and rakes. And that's actually about just under 10% of the work. The bulk of the work is education and immediate needs. And then, of course, I think probably what we're best known for in the city is our annual coat drive. So,
which we're about to embark on, but we'll come back to that in a minute. But the underlying basis then is really, it was formed by
volunteers.
Yeah. What kind of volunteers? Yeah.
Yeah. Interestingly, we were founded by a group of friends, and when they were trying to volunteer, they were unable to for a couple big reasons, and they were employed was the biggest one. They were 20-somethings. They were in New York starting their careers. Their careers either didn't permit them to go out during the day or to make some of the kind of commitment levels they were being asked, and they knew they couldn't make in good conscience. And then the other side of it, of course, was homeless shelters. Public schools didn't have volunteer programs. So anytime they did try to have a volunteer experience, they were often disappointed. So as I always say, they founded New York Cares. They really tried to figure it out for a couple years. And then finally, one of the founders of our group said there should be an organization. And so, you know, when people ask what we do, I say, you know, everything that's hard about volunteering, that's what we're doing at the office.
Do they still come around?
We have, one of our founders is still on the board of directors, Jean Strauss, and she's wonderful.
Oh, she's great.
Yeah,
yes.
She's fabulous, and just, you know, remains committed. You know, you would think she joined the board last year. You know, she has that energy and vigor for it.
What do you think? She's interesting because she comes from a family that it was always very community, everything involved.
Yep.
Do you find a lot of your volunteers come from that kind of a family, or are they motivated
Folks are
Do they have a
motivated in a variety of
conscience,
ways. Yes.
soul?
Yes, they do.
Do they realize that they have a response?
Yeah.
You see, I grew up believing you had a responsibility to
Yes.
contribute.
Yeah, and we still see that. We have periodically survey volunteers about their motivations. Why did you start? For those who remain active, why did you continue? For those who are less active, why did it drop off? And I think when the motivation is the higher purpose, by the way, the #1 response for us is making New York City a better place to live, right? So folks attach it to the city, a sense of improving the city. That is the #1 reason the folks who continue do that. Folks who
when they say that, does it mean that they face the injustices that you talked about before?
Folks are more aware of political issues.
Socially aware.
Socially aware. And interestingly, by the way, about 2/3 of our volunteers are between 18 and 34. Our model appeals to the young New Yorker who's looking for access, but they don't have all day to look for that volunteer program. So New York Cares has taken care of making sure, if you will, that there's good content and experiences for you to access, and you don't have to spend the 5 hours figuring it out. We spent that 5 hours, right? Increasingly, you know, I always say the M word, the millennial generation that, you know, that a lot of folks have talked so much about, one of the really wonderful aspects is that there is a desire not only to do service, but to learn from that experience. We're looking at ways we can really take advantage of that opportunity because, you know, 20 years ago, we would have loved to educate you on issues, but a lot of folks were like, just let me go and do my thing and then I'll go home. But now folks are reading things in the paper every day. They're seeing it on their Twitter feed, their Instagram feed. They're seeing it everywhere. And I think, you know, volunteerism is a way for us each to make meaningful change that we can grasp in what is a huge environment that we're being bombarded with every day. One quick example, but after the last presidential election, you know, we saw over a 200% increase in folks signing up to be oriented, to get out and volunteer. Interestingly, we do see an uptick after every election, and I think, to your point earlier, there's a moment when we vote that we sort of go, oh, you know, I clicked that one little lever, and then, you know, if the election doesn't go my way, how else do I live my values? And volunteerism, you know, to your point, there's a greater good. I can express my values. I can live them every day in the way I help others.
And I can learn.
Yeah.
That was a very important turning point in the early stages of the women's movement because a lot of women were really superb volunteers and had gathered incredible experiences, right?
Right.
But when they came to writing a resume, they were reluctant to appreciate the importance of their experiences.
And you know, it's very interesting. One thing I do tell people is occasionally I get a call, you know, from somebody I know at a company. They might be a sponsor in New York Cares, and they'll say, "Do you know so-and-so?" And I'll be like, I'll look up in our database because I'm ashamed to admit I don't know all 65,000 people by name.
That's
but
shortcoming.
A little shortcoming, But, you know, people are putting on their resumes that they're a volunteer team leader. And we, by the way, have leadership opportunities. So one other way that we enable the nonprofits to have our programs is each of them is led on site by a volunteer team leader. And that's a person who is an unpaid volunteer. They go through additional training with us. And we provide ongoing training on how to lead others in volunteering, how to manage your projects, more about working with children, etc. And these folks, just out of the goodness of their hearts, you know, show up at the school. They're coordinating with the teacher, the principal, coordinating back to us. We get data on number of volunteers, number of kids, all coming out of their phones. And they are there willing to organize others. So those 1,300 people that we have, at the end of the day, they mobilize you know,
They're at the
another
top.
25,000
Right.
people.
You can't lobby, right? You have,
No.
what are you, 501?
We're a 501c3,
Right.
so we're limited in the level of lobbying we can do as any 501c3 is. But
It's interesting. Do any of your people want to then begin to lobby?
you know, I think it's very interesting because I think there are sort of two routes that happen for volunteers and even our staff, you know, and me personally, right? Some are drawn by the social services aspect and they go deeper into it. You know, we have the stories over the years of, you know, accountant becomes school teacher, you know, and I think those are incredibly meaningful. One thing I'm always fascinated by is, you know, when I'm out and I'm meeting, say, with city council members and their staffs, or if I'm up in Albany doing the same with our elected officials, I am always amazed how many people say, "Oh, I already volunteer for you."
That's good.
You know,
So what are you asking when you go to see these people?
you know, there are a couple things that are important to New York Cares, and one of the reasons we were founded is because the investment in a volunteer infrastructure is so small, right? And you know, there are different estimates, but you know, well over half of the workforce for nonprofits is voluntary, right? And there's so little money for human resources, period, in the nonprofit sector, and then volunteer management is all but ignored. So, in big policy questions. So, on
And
the
you're
national,
under scrutiny also, aren't you?
Yeah.
When people want to give, they look to see how much the overhead is. Right?
Exactly, and you know, we have you know, the infrastructure that exists, the Corporation for National and Community Service in Washington. There are state commissions as part of the founding legislation back in the Clinton era. There are, you know, state commissions, and the New York State Commission, you know, can support especially programs like AmeriCorps, right? Where
And you're connected a little bit with America.
yes, and we both use AmeriCorps members here, and then I sit on the state commission. And then here in New York City, we have the NYC service, which is was started in the Bloomberg administration and continues into this administration. And there, a chief service officer is assigned with supporting and promoting volunteerism. But the amount of money that goes into those two areas, you know, just pales in comparison to just about any other work that's happening.
So you then are dependent also not only on grants,
Yes.
but on the contracts. Grant. Do you have contracts?
Our actual government contracts are very small. The ones that we do have are for a thing that I think is really important and good, which is we train nonprofits in how to manage their volunteers. And so both at the city and the state level, and even in emergency management, there's the recognition that, you know, the skills and the management knowledge that we bring is unique in the sector. So. But when, you know, there are a few things that we always have to advocate for. The cost of running a background check in our city is over $100. And so we certainly understand that everybody would like every volunteer to be background checked. I'm not sure if that's actually the safest thing anybody can do. One of the reasons we employ a group-based model is I believe it's safer that a group regulates better than individuals and one-on-one. But you know, to be able to either make volunteerism more affordable. I mean, half of the organizations New York Cares works with have less than $1 million budget, or they're a public school. They don't have $20,000 to background check the people who are going to come into their organization and be with their children. And so there are costs, and then there's just the investment in a volunteer management infrastructure.
So let's talk about the winter coming.
Yes.
And the coats.
Yes.
That's a major project.
Major, and a major milestone. We're celebrating the 30th anniversary of the coat drive, which really changed the face. I wasn't there for it, so I can say this. It really changed the face of how people saw winter here in New York City. For folks who live in New York, there's an iconic image now, the Shivering Statue of Liberty, that people will see through the end of the year. A young upstart nonprofit was approached by a woman named Suzanne Davis at the J.M. Kaplan Fund, who had heard about a similar coat drive in Denver. you talk about sort of community organizing. She was talking to her friend Mary, who said, and she said, this is such a great idea, but I don't know where to go with it. And Mary said, I heard about these young people called New York Cares, and they want to help. They probably have the energy for this, or something to that effect. And our first full-time executive director, a fellow named Kenneth Adams, who's in the CUNY system now, heading up workforce development in the Bronx, a great guy, worked with the board and took it on.
So what is it? How do you collect these coats? How many coats did you distribute last year?
Last year we got to 105,000. This year we're kicking off the drive with the distribution of the 2 millionth coat over the years, which is truly amazing. Some of the, when you talk about this civic life, I think one of the smartest moves that was made early on, and this continues to be the case, is one of our strongest partners is the NYPD. A New Yorker can walk into any police precinct borough, or police precinct in the 5 boroughs through December 31st, 24 hours a day, and drop off a coat. And we organize to pick up there. We're still collecting during morning rush at Grand Central and Penn Station. And then at newyorkcares.org, we actually have a map. We have many collection sites across the city. And also when you talk about civic life.
So you look at it online.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You can find it.
You can find online, you can find the location nearest you with a mapping function. The other thing that's fascinating to me and I love is that about 1,300, depending on the year, about 1,300 folks step up and they run a coat drive at their office, in their apartment building, at their school, Girl Scout troop, Boy Scout group. It's amazing, amazing to see.
And if they get a lot of coats, do you manage to pick them up?
What we do, our collection groups, we have a warehouse that's donated to us that's on 31st and 7th, and groups come and they can drop them off, and we have, drop-off hours, and we run up to the street and meet you because we know it's not easy to stop at 31st and 7th and drop your coats off.
Or you could take them to a major distributor.
Or you could take them to one of the major sites. And, I think some people probably run a collection and then drop them off at the police precinct.
Now, who gets the coats?
Last year we had 600 organizations apply to get coats.
So you distribute them through the organization?
Yes.
Okay.
And then, so when the coats come into our warehouse, volunteers are there. They sort them into men's, women's, children's, toddlers. Bags of 5. People often ask that.
And that's in Midtown.
And that's in Midtown. We have volunteers there, 8 to 10 hours a day, just sorting. Then organizations have applied to get the coats. And so then basically first come, first serve, we can say your order's ready. The organizations come to the warehouse and pick them up.
And they come to 31st Street?
And they come to 31st Street to pick them up. Nope.
See, I know. I'm confused because I was looking for jobs on your website, and I thought the warehouse was in the Bronx.
No, warehouse is in here. Now, one thing we do is, and we have
it again.
No, that's okay. We have a good. If you'd like a job in our warehouse, I'd be happy to call. We have to bring you in for an interview. But we do have a warehouse that's part of the Department of Education.
Maybe
and one of the things that we're looking at is this year there are 2 things that we're going to be able to do to push this coat number even higher. Because by the way, with 1.7 million people living below the poverty line, we're proud of 100,000 coats, but
it'd be nice if theaters collected, movie theaters, or Broadway or something.
We do have,
Broadway
it's very
Cares.
interesting, we have casts from Broadway shows that will do collections.
Oh, good.
And one of the things I love about New York Cares is, if you go to our website, plugging in and saying, I'd like to start a coat collection in my apartment building, we make it very easy. Materials, all the information you need. And so I'm always moved, like at our gala last night, we were able to celebrate 2 young people who took on initiative to collect coats, 3 years running at their schools, and have collected hundreds of coats. And then, by the way, one other thing I'd like to make sure folks know about.
1 minute.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. Go on, quick.
Okay. One thing that we're also doing is a thing called Cash for Coats. If you text COAT to 41444, you'll get back a link, and just $20 puts a brand new coat on the back of a New Yorker who needs it. So folks can donate $20, $100. You can buy 1,000 coats if you're so moved. And last year, of those 104,000 coats, 35,000 of them, I believe, were brand new coats that came through donations.
I just want to say one thing.
Sure.
If I hold my children's clothes because I'm sentimental,
yeah.
my husband's clothes,
yeah.
if you really think it's time to give those away and make them
yep.
useful, it doesn't make sense to hold on to things that you're not using anymore. And you feel better when you're giving it, you know it's going to go to somebody who needs it.
Absolutely,
right.
Absolutely. And, you know, we're working with another great organization this year called HelpSee. And some of those clothing bins you'll see at malls, shopping, you know, in the parking lots. HelpSee goes around and collects those. And then they go through the clothing and figure out how to repurpose it best. Some of it might go to thrift shops. There's a partnership this year where we're going to be working with HelpSee. And they're going to be able to deliver an additional 30,000 coats, especially to kids here in the city. And of course, we're able to do that even for a fraction of the $20 for a brand new coat. So lots of ways we can push this higher.
Well, we have so much more to talk about.
Yes.
I'm sorry that we've come to an end. I mean, no wonder you have a master's degree in public administration.
I do.
So because you're really, it's a major industry that you're managing, right?
You know, it is very funny. It is a rather complex set of logistics and a wonderful thing to be in the center of.
It's certainly been very interesting to me to learn this.
Thank you.
And thank you very much. And people can look at your website, they'll get all the instructions, all the communication, and can contact you or the organization.
Exactly.
And find themselves really enriching their lives, I think.
We're here to make it easy.
Thank you, Gary Bagley.
Thank you.